What is up, everybody? Welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 recap of Unhinged with the one, the only, Miracle Matt. Matt the Miracle.
Coming live to you here, Miracle Matt, for some more great advice. I'm going to tell you what, that it's so hard to do this. I don't know how, once again, I know last week we talked about these actors that come on, they do this and they get into it. And listen, Waverly is very annoying. We all know that now. Anybody that has listened to the show, Waverly is very annoying. She's supposed to be annoying, folks. She's annoying voice that is, if you're being annoyed by her, mission accomplished. We were trying to make her that giddy wife that is excited about the mystery and not so much concerned, but yet more concerned about the finances. Not concerned about getting the job done, but worried about putting all the money together and paying the bills. So it's good. You know, and Joe, I want to say first and foremost, this has been such an exciting adventure going down this road, this uncharted territory. It's been scary, but yet I'm so glad that we have such a good team behind us that's doing all the work. You and I get to show up and do this, and we get to be a part of it, and we get a little bit of recognition, but really we're just along for the ride on Structure to Grow has done a great job. Brad has done a great job of pushing out a wonderful product. The sound effects, the crunching, the noise they're making, they're making that crunching by crunching paper, right? And,
is that right?
Yeah. And they're all the sound effects they're making or using or borrowing from other resources, but they're walking. Joe, my one complaint, the motor on Billy Gates' truck sounds like a Toyota and not an F-350 diesel that's been that has been modified.
Sure.
So no more DEF.
The environmentals fell off of it. Yeah.
So I haven't told Brad. The first time Brad's going to hear this is right now. You and me talking that I want to hear a diesel motor in the next episode.
Yeah, episode 2. Or season 2.
Season 2. I want to hear a V8 diesel motor, not a 4-cylinder Nissan pickup truck that's pulling up to the side. Which I don't want to. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But I like my diesel motors.
Yeah, that's the thing is if you close your eyes and you picture a fencing contractor pulling up to a commercial job site, a big job site, right? Like which in episode 2 we learned he just got another 500 acres, so a big job site.
Right.
You don't picture a Toyota or a Nissan. Like you picture.
Did it sound like a Toyota?
Yeah. So in my mind, when I'm picturing this, man, I'm picturing like the premier fence truck, like the pinnacle of fence trucks, which are obviously Rams. So it's like a Ram 3500 pulling up to the job site. I mean, it's orange, of course.
Something's happening to my microphone here. You meant to say built Ford Tough F-350.
Well,
white truck.
Well, really I guess we learned his wasn't. So Billy's isn't actually a fence truck. It's like the head honcho's truck, right? So I guess you're right. If we're not depending on it for like everyday like construction use, I see where you're going. Yeah, that makes sense. His guys drive the Ram. He drives the Ford. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so let's jump into it.
Yeah,
a few characters got introduced. We met Softy. Softy is the guy at the hardware store.
Runs a hardware store.
Yep, and he was an ex-football player for the University of Nebraska.
Yep.
And he gets a little emotional when people are nice to him.
That's right.
Yep. Which is exciting. Now, here's my question. Why are they buying so many chains? Why is Scarecrow Tech buying so many chains? What's going on?
Heavy-duty chains or heavy chains, yeah.
And why are they so rude? Why don't they at least say hi to Softy?
Well, I think we're picking up that vibe from Scarecrow Tech in general. Whether we're talking about, whoever we're talking about, whether it's the woman we're dealing with, learning about the additional, acreage, or we interact with her more in a little bit.
Lattice.
Or what is it? Is it Nevis? Nevis.
No, Cordis.
Yeah.
Yeah, the AI where he checks his iron.
Yeah. Yeah. You're low on iron.
I want to tell everybody, listen, we have a job site that we are on. I'm not going to say the name of it, but I'm telling you, they are it's such high security that you feel like they're checking your iron level, and they don't want you to smile or frown. And they know that you have to do background checks, you have to do federal background checks, you have to do once a year, you have to do a drug test. I mean, it is intense when we go on the client side, especially once it's occupied by the client. On this side over here, we're doing this addition. Now, a lot of this story came from me saying, hey, this is a typical fence world, right?
Yeah.
It's a big job.
Yep.
Tight time frames. You're maxed out on your line of credit. Yeah. You're struggling with your team. Your team is usually behind mostly because of weather, not because they're not good at their job, but just because of weather or things go wrong. They get distracted. Surveys are wrong. And when I pitched all this to the team, then they took it and ran with it. So they came up with, they listened to what we had, and then they came up with it all, and they did a wonderful job. One of the most important things I want people to know that I want to try to share with the fence community is the life lessons and some things that I've talked about over the years. One is here at Empire, we don't talk about problems. We try to call them riddles.
Sure.
We do slip up once in a while and say, hey, we have a problem over here. But usually there's somebody in the room that'll say, you mean that's a riddle? We get paid to solve it. And I did talk a little bit about Miracle Matt did talk a little bit about his grandmother, which is a real life situation that it dawned on me watching her pass away with the lung disease, that what I get to do at work is really not a problem. It's a riddle. And watching my grandmother pass away, it still gets me choked up. She was the most influential female in my life, my entire life, and she was a wonderful, godly woman. And watching her suffocate really hit home with me on, let's put things in perspective from now on. And shortly after that's when I came out and said, you know what, I don't want to call it problems anymore.
Sure.
I want to call it riddles because we really do get to solve them. And you know what? Most of the time in business, when you solve that riddle, and especially if you can get your team to solve that riddle, you grow.
Sure.
Tremendously. Yeah. You get smarter and faster. Joe, we have a crew that has solved the riddle on setting these great big 350-pound square posts for these either the Gardier product or the Ameristar product. They can dig and set 30 or 40 a day, and they set a record one day, and they did 77.
Oh man!
In a day. Now, I know there's guys out there right now that are doing 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 a day.
Yeah,
and we're way past that. But we gave them the riddle, and we empowered them, and we said, guys, we have an entire fab shop here. What tool or jig can we make to make you faster and better? And it's a little bit of what I've always talked about with that Sean King does a great job of. He's making tools to make our lives better and quicker and easier and faster so we can do repeatable processes. Yep. I think it's amazing and wonderful. So I want to tell everybody that Scarecrow Tech isn't a real site.
Sure.
But it's an idea of a job that we were on. And literally we were trying to set just 16 posts a day at first. That was our goal. And it took us 4 or 5 months to break past the 16 a day. So these are real life scenarios.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the theme throughout the show, right? Or throughout this series is that this is all based loosely on real life events, right? So especially, we're talking about, so this is the biggest project of Billy's career, right? Or his company's career. Wife is saying, hey, we're maxed here. We got no more credit. So when he drops the bomb on her that, hey, we've got 500 more acres, she's like, Well, how is it you think we're going to do that? I guess I'll have to go talk to a few more banks and see if we can find some credit at those banks.
Right.
Sounds pretty close to real life.
It's
Now,
exactly what we were going for.
And Billy picked up a job account at the hardware store. He didn't call it that, but the hardware store owner said, Softy said, just pay me when the job's done. Pay me when you settle up. Well, that's a job account. So he's also learning about different ways, which is also still credit, right? It's just credit offered directly from the vendor. He's learning a little bit about different types of credit as well.
Right, and how to leverage what you do have, and a really special character, Jackson, got introduced and has a big role in offering to help and offering a wonderful tool called My Salesman.
That's right,
which is a time saver, and even though Billy uses Jackson's actual link, which is probably not the best thing to do, folks. Don't go use somebody else's link. Get your own link.
Sure.
But it's kind of funny how Jackson gets to come up and say, "Well,
what? No, now wait, you're skipping ahead."
Oh, is that episode 3? Oh, doggone it!
It's okay. That was not a major moment.
All right, everybody. All right, so Joe and I are well past episode 1 and 2. We're at episode 3, so this is going to be. I have to be very careful not to blow it. All right, so
but no, you're right. So he saw My Salesman, of course, in typical Billy fashion. He kind of blew it off. He's like, "Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you." And but Jackson tells him how to find the tool, but then come to find out, he gets back to the job site and the guys are measuring with like a measuring tape.
Yeah, tape measure.
What are you don't measure 500 acres with a measuring tape? Like, what are we doing? I said, well, the superintendent that is still like in the wind, like nobody's heard from this guy. He had the measuring wheel, which how many times have you been on a job site and not had this stinking $30 for how much ever these measuring wheels cost?
Like
you don't have one.
This is not a real story, but I'm telling you, these are the stories that I told these guys. This stuff happens in real life. So you know what? And all I want out of the whole thing is I want the fence industry to kind of chuckle and say, you know what? I've been there, done that. Yeah. And then have a few things in. And I'm not kidding you. When I wish that the word riddles would take off in the industry, because I really want us to a riddle sounds more upbeat and positive.
Sure.
If we're going to have good culture comes from you and I, Joe. We have the power to instigate, and we can't always be a ray of sunshine. So we have to be training ourselves to say, when somebody walks into our office and says, I got a problem, you can say, is it a problem or is it a riddle?
Yeah. Problems affect your lives. If this doesn't affect your life, then it's probably not a problem.
That's right. And once again, I'm super excited that we get to do this, and I thank you, Joe, for helping me work through it and keeping me in check so I don't get too far ahead.
Sure. We can't let too many of the secrets out quite yet.
Right. That's right. Very good.
We're still looking for Lucky Pickett.
Yes.
Don't know where he's gone, but we found his truck.
Yep.
Truck had a bloodstained jacket in it. Right. So we took it back. Billy took it back to the diner, let's pause for a second. This diner, they keep pushing cinnamon rolls with chili. Is that a real thing?
In Nebraska, it is a real thing.
It is.
Now I'm telling you, you get the spicy chili with the sweet cinnamon roll. Now you don't dump the chili on the cinnamon roll.
Okay, that's what I was picturing, and I just
and you dip it in your chili and then you eat it. And I'm telling you, at school, it's the greatest thing ever. The schools have it. All the schools in Nebraska, not all, but a lot of them have it. And I'm telling you, do not knock it until you try it.
I'm not. I'm just trying to imagine. It was brought up enough so far in this series. I was like, this has got to be an actual thing, but we're going to need to talk about it on the recap.
I'm telling you, it is so, so good. And then the best is if you eat your cinnamon roll at the right pace by unraveling it, and you get to the middle, And then you take that middle on the very bottom of your bowl, and you got and you can just clean up that bowl, and that last little nucleus of the cinnamon roll, and that sweet cinnamon roll, and that spicy chili. So good.
Well, I'm gonna need to come visit you in the wintertime, and we're gonna need to go grab breakfast. It sounds
well, normally we eat it for lunch, but
okay.
That's a breakfast meal. I mean,
that also makes more sense. Anyway, so all right, back to the story. Truck gets brought back to the diner. Yep. Bloody jacket, Junior's jacket.
Junior, which is
who we find out is
Sheriff Sheeter. Sheriff Sheeter. Cedar. That's it.
Sheriff Cedar. Got it. Sheriff Cedar does not take kindly to being upstaged, right? Not only is Billy hot on the trail that the sheriff can't seem to figure out, which maybe we're finding out why. I don't know. But also he did it in the diner in front of a bunch of people, and it was a whole debacle. And now Sheriff Cedar, happy-go-lucky at the bowling alley. Yeah. Right? Episode 1, he's like, oh, yeah, heck of a bowler, having a great time. Now he's a lot like a cornered bear, right? So there's a confrontation.
Yep.
Taillight gets knocked out. Yep. And it's like, here's your warning. Like, don't mess with me in this town because I don't like to be messed with.
And by the way, that's also part of what we wanted to do intentionally, is that there's just some people out there that are bullies, and they can pick on you, and we have those guys at job sites. We have them in other trades. We have them in our own trades. We have bullies in our industry in the fencing. I don't want to say that we're obsolete of it, but the idea though is sometimes you got to learn how to handle that and walk away and be calm and don't freak out just because you broke your tail light out.
Yep. And also maybe handling it in the right way. Yeah. Right? So now Billy took it to the diner where everyone was at, made a big scene about it, and made the sheriff. It didn't give him much of a choice, right? So I liken this to if we're talking about like a pre-job meeting or pre-project walkthrough. The job supers and architect engineer reps or whatever, they don't like to be questioned directly in front of that whole room, right? It's submit your questions. We will answer them. We're not here to be grilled about why we chose this or this thing's better. A little bit of a similar. Now, I don't know of any like job supers or architects that have broken tails lights out on the way out, but a few may have. I've been in a few meetings like, I love being a fly on the wall in the back and just like listening. I don't know why in our area, probably not everywhere, it's the concrete guys that really stir things up in our neck of the woods. So it's all, I don't know.
I've always seen it being the iron workers. The iron workers always seem to have a little bit of an aggressive approach. But you know what? Us fence guys, we know our trade and we think we know the best. And, I had a good architect friend of mine call me the other day in Kansas City, and he said, hey, Matt, I've got this fence company down here that wants to pound posts on a commercial job. Yep. I said, yeah, it'll work. Yeah. And he goes, well, we're going to put a mow curb on it. I go, it'll even work better.
Sure.
And he goes, really? Then why don't we do that? I go, Vance, we've talked about this 100 times. Nobody likes doing it that way. It works really well. In Chicago, that's what they do on almost all their jobs.
Well, there's an ASTM standard for it.
Yes.
Like there's a standard to reference for the proper methodology and the proper way of doing it, of installing it, the proper depth, all of it. So, which those guys like. They like being able to reference something. Yep. So, like, it's out there. And it's available for it to be found. It's just a matter of, to your point, finding the right group of folks that are willing to step out into that.
I love it. Well, very good. That's kind of an introduction, right?
Basically, one thing we found out too. So Lucky Pickett, there's a $50,000 reward.
Yes.
On finding his whereabouts, right? Yep. So now Waverly is in the background. So she's managing the money, max credit, going to talk to banks. She's also a little bit of a mystery hound, right? She loves solving mysteries. She's actually in a group that loves solving mysteries, which is even worse for Billy because now not only is Waverly trying to solve this through Billy, now we've got a whole group of people like giving ideas on how to solve this. But her point is, Billy, that's $50,000. Right. So if you can solve this, that makes our credit problems go away, or at least a large chunk of them. So now Billy's got that in the back of his head, right? So Waverly is obviously important. It's his wife, and she's pushing him along, but also now he's got that in the back of his mind. We got a lot more to do now. Don't know where the money's coming from, but if I can jump on this and help solve this mystery, maybe that $50,000 will help push this progress through.
Yeah. Yeah. But he also kind of says, I need to focus on just getting my guys to the job site, taking care of the job site, and get going. Yeah.
I'm here to build fence. That's what I'm doing. I'm not a detective. We'll leave that to Sheriff Cedar. We'll leave that to Sheriff Cedar. Not Sheriff Cedar Sr. No. That is
Sheriff Cedar Jr.
Yeah. That's the one. But and that's kind of where we leave season 2. We leave our episode 2 of season 1. We left it right with the sheriff blowing up there at the motel, knocking out Billy's taillight, and basically telling him, "Hey, be careful when you're in this town because I don't like it. Yeah, this is my job."
Yep.
So.
Very good. I love it. That's kind of the wrap up and a little bit of the life lessons. And let's all make a commitment that we recognize our problems, that actually they're riddles, and we get spin it into a positive.
Absolutely.
That's the takeaway.
If the thing doesn't affect your life, it's probably not a problem, right?
Yeah.
It's probably not a problem.
Yep.
Guys, if for some reason you haven't listened to the audio drama Unhinged, check out the description and the link below to find the episode and also to find future episodes. For example, I've got it on my Apple podcast to where this morning when I jumped in the car, season 2 was ready to go. It was locked and loaded. Listen to it on the way in. So you also can do that.
I love it. Let's recap episode 3 and look forward to that coming out next week.
Yep. Stay tuned next week for the recap of season 3. So the episodes are on Tuesdays. Recaps are on Thursdays. Tune in next time for the recap of episode 3 of season 1. For now, Joe Everest, Matt the Miracle, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and we'll see you next week.